the PowerPoint and we'll get started. We probably will go a little bit. I didn't think I was going to use the full 2 hours, but Tuesday I did. So we'll see if that's the same time that we will use today as well. If you guys want, if you could, it would be really great to just use the chat and put, your name, the organization that you work for, and where in the state you are located. That way you guys can see where everybody on the call is currently at, or, the region or counties that they serve, to kind of show you all how spread out we are across the state, or will be spread out across the state for the next program year. I like to start with just a little intro of who Valerie and I are. So as a lot of you all know, I'm Holly. I was in the member coordinator position for about 4.5 years before transitioning over to the program director position last July, early July. I served with Homes for All for 2 years while I was in school. I love our program. I love the work that HHCK does. So yeah, I am a firm believer in AmeriCorps and the things that AmeriCorps service can provide for individuals in their future and where they want to be. This is a picture of me and my crew. So if I'm not working, I'm chasing around a 10-year-old and a 3-year-old and about to be chasing around another one in October. So we're busy, but I wouldn't have it any other way. I'll let Valerie introduce herself. Yeah, I'll mute myself really quick, Valerie.
Yeah, thanks, Holly. My name is Valerie. I'm the member coordinator, sort of member manager. Um, I'm the person your members can come to for sort of development ideas, um, or, to talk about their career goals, how to use AmeriCorps for those future goals. I graduated from Transylvania last year. I live here in Lexington. I studied education and policy mainly, but I'm also an AmeriCorps alum. I was not in Homes for All, but I served in two different programs after graduating high school in Frankfurt. One was City Year, so mainly I was a tutor and mentor, but I also really strongly value education and adore our program. Really admire the work that all of our members and our sites do, genuinely. Um, and I think we all really value service and serving our Commonwealth. And so I just love that. Um, and yeah, coming up on my 1 year anniversary, um, around the time we'll have our end of year celebration, which is really exciting. But yeah, thank you all for coming to this and learning about our program and how to support your members.
Thanks. So we'll start off by just a quick little AmeriCorps 101. We love to kind of just let everyone know how to pronounce AmeriCorps. It's like Marine Corps, Peace Corps, Corps of the Earth, Apple Corps. I know there's that P in there and it can throw things off, but we like to say that up front, especially if you are interviewing people who may just not have a lot of knowledge about AmeriCorps. It's very quick to look at the word and say corpse but we are alive. We are here. AmeriCorps is thriving. So it's, we just like for everyone to be on the same page on how to pronounce AmeriCorps. As an overview of AmeriCorps, it is a federally funded national service program. We have been a program since 94. We are actually the oldest Kentucky AmeriCorps program in the state. So we hold that title. I mean, we love holding that title. Well, hopefully we will not let, well, we're going to continue to be here for many, many years, hopefully. Um, AmeriCorps programs in Kentucky are supported by Serve Kentucky, and that is our state commission. So that is the office that holds our program officer and other program staff that support us along with the other AmeriCorps programs in the state. They review our grant application. Our commissioners review our grant applications every year. Yeah, and our program officers and those other important staff on Serve Kentucky, they ensure that our programs, or I'm sorry, the programs in the state are running efficiently. We're supporting our members, not to get heavy on compliance, but of course, part of their job is to ensure that programs are compliant with federal policies and procedures that we have to follow. They are housed within the Cabinet for Health and Family Services. Yeah, so they host a program, or they host a training yearly for AmeriCorps programs across the state. They really like coming and joining our events that we have with programs. They also host like roundtables with members where they're just like getting up to date on how the program year is going at their specific site and with their specific program. Right now, there are about 22 AmeriCorps programs in our state. That plus sign includes planning grants. So organizations that are still in that planning process or planning phase to become a AmeriCorps program, an AmeriCorps program. Let's see here. We are the only housing and homelessness focused program in the state. Our goal for the upcoming program year is to provide provide services to 2,000 individuals across the state. And hopefully 800 of those individuals or households will be permanently housed. We'll talk more about what those goals are and how we get that information a little bit later. We do have kind of categories that we break down our member positions within. So we have our construction positions, our homeless services positions. So people who are working with individuals who are experiencing homelessness or working with like eviction prevention, working with landlords. And then we have the housing services component. So some of our sites provide affordable housing opportunities and home ownership opportunities. And so those services would fall under that category. Another thing, just an overview, you will hear me say term of service often throughout our time together today. Our program year does start August 1st and will go to July 31st of 2025. You'll also hear me say 1,700 hours or 900 hour slot types often throughout today. And then I added the bullet point that as the program year starts and we get to a certain point in the year and say you're still recruiting to fill your full-time position, there may be 1,200 hour slots that could come available again after that year starts. So that really depends on what recruitment looks like. If that is the case, we will send out information on the benefits for a 1,200-hour member, how long we would recruit, like basically like the latest we would want a person to start to successfully complete that hour requirement and things like that. So that's just an overview of AmeriCorps in the state and a little bit more about our program. This is a list of our partner organizations for the upcoming year. So we are, pretty focused in central Kentucky, but we do have our programs in like the northern part of the state, northeast of the state, the eastern part of the state. So we're happy to be, um, you know, we are statewide. And I just like for you all to know too, what organizations that you either may work closely with or know information about, or maybe you get a call from someone in that area. Just to know that we do have AmeriCorps members placed there. So this is also going to be listed on the HHCK website under the Homes for All tab. We'd like to keep that updated too. Just some service language that you'll hear me use today, along with the rest of the program year. So the person that's serving in the position is the AmeriCorps member. That however long they are with you at your site is called their term of service. So their start date to their end date. Living allowance, that is one of the benefits that members receive during the program year. We'll talk about the living allowance and benefits a little bit later, but we don't refer to it as a paycheck, a living stipend, a hourly wage, a salary. It is in that unique definition of just being a living allowance. We don't use the words hire, work, intern, or employee. This is a service position. It's that 1-year commitment. So those are some words that we like to shy away from whenever we're talking about our members in our program. Okay, so partnering with Homes for All. So here's just an overview of HHCK's role at the program level and in partnership with you and the organization that you work for. So at the program level, we are administering the federal grant that we receive. We make sure that we're in full compliance with AmeriCorps policies and regulations. If there are any changes to things like that, that would affect the service that your members are doing or anything like that, we would be the ones that would communicate that to you as the site supervisor and how those things would be addressed or anything like that. We are doing all of the member background checks. We'll talk about that a little bit later, but that's a huge part of the onboarding process for members to get started. We host an orientation at the beginning of the program year to orient our members on our Homes for All policies and procedures, making sure they understand what they're committing to for the year ahead of them. We'll provide additional trainings throughout the year as well with some events that would pull your members off site. We'll talk about those in a little bit too. We are here to provide support to you and your members while they are in our program. So we can set up calls, we can come visit. We are here to ensure that everybody's getting what they are needing out of this partnership. We are always encouraging member development. We hope that there are opportunities at the site level as well for those member development opportunities. We also report on our program goals and our member progress to AmeriCorps, and I should add Serve Kentucky as well, since they monitor us at the state level. So in partnership with you, We are ensuring that the person that's going to be in this role as an AmeriCorps member, they're eligible and enrolled to begin service. Um, you are their day-to-day supervisor and a mentor to this person. Of course, we want to guarantee member safety, site safety, client safety, all of the safety. We want to make sure everyone's safe during this um, time, and just supporting the goals of our program. So we'll get into all of this as well. Some of your responsibilities as the site supervisor or as assigned the site supervisor for the upcoming year. We hope that you are providing quality supervision and mentorship. When we say that, it's because a lot of times members, this may be their first time in a position working with the population that our program or our partner organizations work with. This may be their first true like professional experience. So, it is a little bit different than just supervising a typical employee. We hope that you're offering the tools for them to be successful. So office space, equipment that's needed to do the position successfully, technology, making sure they understand the technology and systems that your organization uses, and access to internet if that is part of their position. We want you to support the data collection of our program and the performance measure reporting. Again, we'll talk about that a little bit later. I don't like to harp on it, but unfortunately, it is something that is part of our grant, it's a very important component to show AmeriCorps what our members are doing across the state and why it's so important to keep funding our program. Communicate with us regularly. If there are any issues coming up with your member that you have observed, let's start having those conversations early. But also, I don't want to just talk about like issues, successes, sharing some of those great things that you've observed your member do, or watch them grow as a person. We love to hear about that as well. Again, just supporting the goals of AmeriCorps in their member development, making sure that the schedule that is agreed upon between you and the member at least adds up to 37.5 hours per week. Your organization may work or operate on a 40-hour week. That's totally fine too. So what we share with candidates is it could be 37.5 to 40 hours a week. It is a full-time commitment, and just understanding what that means. And we have that number because we've just seen that it works. Members that stay on track with serving anywhere from 37.5 to 40 hours a week stay on track with that hour requirement. They are able to enjoy time off, observe holidays, and things like that without feeling so stressed about that hour requirement that's tied to the position. Next, we'll move into recruitment and finding a member for your position. So advertising and interviewing, we sent out a recruitment PDF towards the end of May, just to kind of fill you all in on where we are at the program level. We are managing listings on several platforms. We have if you indicated in your site application that you wanted your position on Indeed or KNN, we have listed your specific positions out there. Um, we also just have one My AmeriCorps listing for our program. So anyone that applies through My AmeriCorps, we are also screening those applicants, talking to them about our program, the program requirements. Um, and then if they seem to really understand that, and we do ask some questions, we have like a little screening page that we complete when we're talking to people. We will forward those individuals their contact information and that little document to service sites when it's possible. Some positions get more traffic than others. But that's what we are currently in the trenches doing right now. We've had a lot of calls with a lot of different people, um, just getting the word out there about the positions that we have across the state at your all's organizations. When you are advertising and interviewing yourself, again, we want you to be talking to individuals that you have maybe applied through the process that your organization has. Maybe you have posted it on social media or Indeed or, one of the other job boards that are out there, and they have sent their resume. Interview those suitable applicants. We want you to use that candidate recommendation form to kind of guide your conversation with applicants, because there are questions on that form that talk about the program requirements. So, talking to them about the living allowance, the hour requirement. There are some overnight trainings away from home, making sure that's all set up, just so they have a better idea of what this really is and what the next year will look like for them. Um, if you find the candidate that you want to move forward with, please, as I just talked about that recommendation form, complete it and send it back to us. When I send out the wrap-up email for site supervisor training tomorrow, I will include it again. I think something to stop and share again at this point is just knowing that in order to get a person started by August 1st, you would need to recommend that person to our staff by July 15th. And we will get into the onboarding process and why we have that kind of hard deadline, because there's so many steps to getting a person cleared for service. So we'll talk about that in a little bit. We know that challenges can come up with recruitment. Sometimes those benefits can be a barrier for a person, but it may also be an opportunity to talk about the other benefits to service. So the education award, HHCK will provide healthcare coverage for full-time members. We pay the premium, so there's nothing withheld from their living allowance when it comes to the healthcare coverage. The member assistance program that we pay for, and again, it's at no cost to the member. It's available to others in their household. So kind of talk up those other benefits that the position has as well. And then ghosting. I've set up so many calls or reached out to people and, we don't hear from them. We understand, we're going through it too. But we're going to keep pushing all of the positions that we have available as hard as we can. This is just an idea of like something we came up with whenever we're getting the word out there for AmeriCorps positions. Of course, when you are creating your own specific listings, there is information that you must include. The big one being the correct amount for the living allowance, the correct amount for the education award. letting people know again, we can provide health care coverage. They could be eligible for SNAP benefits while they're in service. Um, SNAP benefits it is still household income that is looked at, but um, you know, that could be a huge benefit for someone in regards to, buying food during their term of service. And then the additional professional development that we'll share throughout the year. You can also talk about the professional development that specific for your position at your organization. Also, please include the AmeriCorps logo so that people are aware that, this is an AmeriCorps position. You can have people visit our website. I'm not going to click on the YouTube link just because I can sometimes not be the best with technology and I'm afraid it will mess up the PowerPoint. But I'll send out the PowerPoint presentation. This link for the AmeriCorps ad was filmed here in Kentucky last year. So the members that you see in this very impactful ad are all members serving across the state, which is really cool. So we love to get that out there and share it. Maybe you can, after, you make your own listing or advertisement, just share that little ad out there as well. The next thing we'll talk about is member paperwork. So as I mentioned a few slides ago, to have a new member start by August 1st, that person would need to be recommended to our office by July 15th. And the reason why is because there are a lot of moving parts to getting a member started and placed in service. And we can sometimes do it as fast as 3 to 4 days, but that's not always the case. The onboarding process can take anywhere to 7 to 10 days, depending on where or what communication is like with the person. Yeah, it can take a bit. But here are the steps on what we have to have in order to get your members started in service. First being our Homes for All Google application. That's also part of the recruitment email that I sent out. We'll send it out again. It's on it's on HHCK's website, but we have to have an application for every person that's going to be starting service. If for some reason during your interview process, during any point of your interview process, you can share our Google application with them so they can go ahead and fill it out ahead of time. If not, and you've recommended the person to us, that's the first thing that we're going to look for, is to make sure that we have their application. If not, we're going to let them know, hey, we got to have your application. We'll still set up time to talk to them, but that's the first step. Once we get through that application, once we receive the application from them, our office has talked to them. We don't have any concerns. We'll let you know that we will be moving forward with the paperwork enrollment packet. Typically, we send that through Signwell, which is like DocuSign, to get it back electronically. If for some reason that way doesn't work for someone, we can send the paperwork packet to them by mail. We can send it to them by email. If they do request it to be sent to them by email, we always just ask, reach out to your site, see if you can come in and print it off there. It is a lot of paper. So just giving them that space, if that's how they would like to fill it out, and scan it back to us that way. Another important component to getting a member cleared for service is that National Service Criminal History Check. That does consist of 3 to 4 background checks. The fingerprint-based FBI check is the one that typically takes the longest to get the cleared or not cleared result. So when we are starting that paperwork packet with your member, we are also sending instructions on how to set up that fingerprint-based FBI check. So we're working with them to ensure we get that paperwork back. Part of that packet includes the National Service Criminal History Check consent form. So we cannot run these background checks until we get that paperwork packet back and review that consent form and ensure that, you know, we have consent from them to run these background checks. But they can go ahead and set up their FBI account that through the vendor that we use. Again, we're not going to actually complete it until we have that consent form back. Two of the other 2 background checks, our office completes: the National Sex Offender Public Registry check and the State of Service check. So that State of Service check is completed through the Administrative Office of the Courts. If the person has states in their application and in their paperwork that they have a different state of residence, we will also have to run that background check on them. So if they give us a Massachusetts ID, we would have to run a Massachusetts state of residence check as well. So sometimes there are 4 background checks that have to be completed. Most of the time it's 3, but just letting you know, just depending on where the person's from and coming to serve, what that looks like. After that, we will talk to you about when their first day of service is going to be. You will receive an email from our office that says your member is cleared for service. That your member will also be included on that email. We will send an enrollment form through my AmeriCorps to your member that has to be completed within 5 days of them starting service. We have screenshots and instructions on how to get this completed. I feel like I can do this in my sleep, and during this part of the program year, I dream about all of this stuff, but we will ensure that this gets completed. My AmeriCorps is not an easy website to navigate. So that's why we've really made sure that we know the website and how to get what is needed. That enrollment form is the last step before clearance. And I say that because when they complete the enrollment form, they are sending their information to the Social Security Administration to verify their citizenship. So that can also take a few days. And I say that because there are so many AmeriCorps members nationally that are also trying to start the same time. So the Social Security Administration is pretty busy during the month of July and August, maybe even through the fall. The first day of service should be the first day that hours are served. So if we get your members' first timesheet back and we see that August 2nd or August 5th or whatever day is the first day with hours served, and it's supposed to be August 1st, we will have to complete all new paperwork because that all has to match. And the hours that they may have served, or yeah, sorry, I got ahead of myself. But yeah, so all of those dates have to match what is on their paperwork. So their timesheet has to be exactly what says on their member service agreement and their position description. So that's why it is so important that we are all on the same page of when exactly your member is going to start. Um, the last day that we can start a full-time member that has that 1,700-hour requirement would be September 16th. Obviously, we want to get members started, August 1st or somewhere shortly after that so that they have the full year to complete their hour requirement. And also you're getting that member there for the full 12 months. But if for some reason recruitment may be difficult, we know that members can get their hours done, but this is the latest that we would want a 1,700-hour member to start, because we want to set them up for success no matter what. So if that's the case, we'll obviously be having those conversations one-on-one if that's the case for your organization. And like I already said, it can take up to 7 to 10 days to get a person started. So that's why we have that July 15th date to get your new member started by August 1st. Next, we'll talk about member orientation site with on-site with you, and then our program orientation. So just some tips to think about when or before your member starts. Again, explaining the AmeriCorps program and the member role to other staff at your organization, or the volunteers that come to your organization regularly that may be working closely with the AmeriCorps members, so everybody knows what the person is there to, what they should be doing, and there's no like gray area in regards to assignments and tasks that a member may be asked to do. If you utilize business cards, have those for your member or shortly after they arrive. I know business cards can be kind of tricky, but we do ask that you include the AmeriCorps logo. Part of that recruitment guidance email that we sent out, I had attachments to a few different. No, I didn't include the AmeriCorps logo. If you need the AmeriCorps logo, let me know. There's already so many attachments to that recruitment guidance, I didn't want to add any more. But if you need the logo, I will send it to you directly. Create an email address for the member to use. That way, any service related correspondence and communication is going to that email. We ask that you check in with the person just to make sure that they understand how to get to the office, where to park. All of those logistics are kind of squared away. And then also just what the expectation will be for the first day. So the important piece of that is just making sure that the person knows what time they should be on site. If you have any questions, that's what Valerie and I are here for. But yeah, these are just some things to think about before your member starts. For your specific site orientation, welcome, introduce the member to the other staff or volunteers at the organization on that day or throughout the week if you have like a hybrid schedule or whatever the case may be. Letting them get to know the member, give a tour of your organization, maybe if you're a construction site, driving them around, showing them some of those construction projects that they are going to be working at. Provide a lunch, or I shouldn't even say provide a lunch, just have lunch with them. Sit down, take that time to just kind of debrief how the first part of their first day has went, or the first part of their week, something like that, just to show that the member, you're actively listening, you care about how they're feeling in regards to this new position that they um, have started. Um, Understanding those housekeeping items. So, just the office layout, the logistics, where supplies are kept or stored, how parking works, same with mail, phone, email, keys, things like that. Something that I, share that we like to do here at HHCK is, we have a shared Brita pitcher. So we just like that, like if you pour some water in your cup, just fill it back up so that there's always, cold water. It's not like somebody goes to the refrigerator and they're really thirsty and the Brita pitcher's empty. Also, just like some of those shared responsibilities that everyone does, if the toilet paper is running low, replace it. Same with like other supplies, things like that. We know what it's like to work within a nonprofit organization. We don't have those services to that we're utilizing that kind of just do those things, taking the trash out, stuff like that. Obviously, you want to do the position training. So making sure that your member really understands how to complete their responsibilities successfully. You want to make sure that you are doing this, reviewing any policies and expectations on working with individuals before they start working with those individuals. So there's no gray areas. They know how to hold their boundaries. Maybe shadow them for a little bit before they start working more independently with people. You can outline that training in whatever way works with your schedule, their schedule, and everything like that. We do ask that you complete the member and site expectation agreement document that our office started utilizing a few years ago. You should incorporate that into your member orientation. Part of that member and site expectation agreement outlines that set schedule. So again, it's in writing. They know their time in and time out and what days they are expected to be serving. And then any other site expectations, we just included like, some questions that kind of come up that have come up in previous years. Again, this is a good starting point if for some reason member issues arise. We kind of have this document to go back to. You have this document to go back to and revisit with the member. We do ask that you send that to our office because we do keep it in the member file. It's very important for us to have. Yeah, and it's just that first piece of documentation if for some reason we need it or you need it. Of course, during that first month, providing position training, position specific training, any important readings or any important readings, policies, things like that during the first month. Making sure if this member is going to be on any standing calls or webinars or meetings with people, they are connected. I think it's also important during all of this, during orientation, that your member feels confident and understands how to use whatever type of organizational piece that your site uses. So like we utilize Google. You may have a member that's never used Google. So understanding how to share their calendar with you or making sure your calendar has been shared with them. Some of those tech skills that seem very natural to us at this point are not going to be natural to them. So just really understanding any systems or technology that your site uses, they're feeling pretty confident because sometimes yeah, I mean, we get caught up, we know how to do this, but kind of again, slowing down and making sure that they really understand how to utilize all of these new systems that are being, introduced to them. In regards to the Homes for All orientation, we do have those dates. It will be August 28th, 29th, and 30th. It will be at the Bluegrass Community Action Partnership building in Frankfort, Kentucky. We will provide mileage reimbursement, meals, lodging, everything like that. All of those logistic requirements will be provided by the program. So as members are being recommended to us and we're starting that onboarding process, we're also going to be sending like a short registration to them so that they can fill it out. We know if there are any dietary restrictions or allergies as we are uh, coordinating meals for the 3 days and everything like that. If they need a room, again, that's how we get our room list and stuff like that. So that is another piece of that onboarding process that we include just to make sure we have enough time to get what, you know, our training space needs from us, and also, coordinating meals and making sure that the hotels have what they need from us as well. And the members have plenty of time to uh, get all of their logistics squared away from being, away from home and offsite for those 3 days, because we know our members have other responsibilities and people that they care for or animals that they care for or whatever the case may be. And so we want everybody to know ahead of time what's going on and when they should expect to be with us. Some of the things that we talk about during those 3 days, we do provide time for team building. It's so cool to watch people from different parts of the state form friendships. So we do incorporate some team building to get to know one another. We're also getting to know them too. So it's a lot of fun for us. We'll talk about member development. Of course, we will talk about policies and procedures and prohibited activities, best practices in regards to housing and homelessness, and also the, the housing and homelessness issues that our state is currently having, and just really understanding what they're committing to for the next year. We usually have everything outlined at this time, so really nothing should be unexpected in regards to when the time that they would have to be off site from their, away from their site, away from their families. Again, it's no more than 4 times a year. We also know things happen, but everything for the full program year is pretty much squared away when they are with us during this time. Next, we're going to move along to the service year. As mentioned on that first slide, I'm going to say term of service a lot. And what that means is I'm talking about the program year. So August 1st to July 31st is our start and end date for the next program year. Your member's specific term of service, again, will be their specific start date and will always end on July 31st. So if you don't get a member started on August 1st, but you get your member started on August 15th, that's going to be their term of service is going to run from August 15th to July 31st of the next year. The hour requirement right now, we are recruiting for 17 or full-time members or 900 or half-time members. Their weekly schedule is going to be figured out between you and the member. We do ask that when you are determining this schedule with your member, you are at least allowing 2 days off from service. So we know we partner with shelters that operates 7 days a week. So if for some reason that member is serving on a Saturday, maybe they have Sunday and Monday off. Just keep that in mind. The service should be, um, you know, five five days. And you want it to account for at least 37 and a half hours per week. So obviously, if your member gets started later in the program year, they're going to have to, their weekly schedule is going to have to be more. So they may start serving 40 hours, say they get started at the beginning of September. They may have to start serving 40 hours and then, revisit that amount 5 months down the road and see where they're at with their hour requirement. But it should at least be 37 and a half, especially if they're getting started at the beginning of the program year. Full-time members, when they start their service year, they have 10 personal or 10 sick days and 11 holidays that we observe throughout the year. For 900-hour or part-time members, they have 5 personal days, 5 sick days, and 11 holidays. Or if they start after some of those holidays that our program observes, there may only be 9 holidays or, whatever the case may be. These days are built into their schedule. So what we mean by that, and something that we talk about in detail when members are with us, these days don't count towards the hour requirement. So that's why staying on track with 37 and a half to 40 hours a week really sets them up for being able to take time off away. Oops, I didn't mean to do that. Away from site, or take a vacation, or use their days how they need to. So just keep that in mind. It's not like if they take a day off, there's going to be 7.5 hours that goes towards their hour requirement. So that's why it is so important for them to stay on track with their schedule that's determined by you and them. Again, we know things come up unexpectedly, and if that is the case, we will be talking to you and the member and getting a game plan put in place in case that were to happen. Member benefits. The living allowance for this year is again $20,100. So if your member starts on August 1st, that $20,000 will be split up between 26 pay periods for the full year. If they were to start a little bit later, that $20,000 would be split up between however many deposit dates. So, if they started, I don't know, we'll say they started like maybe like August 28th or something. They would only have like 24 pay periods in their term of service. So we talk about that with members when they start. It's even listed in their member paperwork. The education award. So after a person successfully completes their year of service, so staying in good standings with site and program standards of conduct, meeting that hour requirement, they will receive the education award. This year, that amount is $7,395. They have 7 years to use that. We do a full training towards the end of the program year. So sometime in July, we will meet. We will do our training and celebration, and we will talk about the specifics on how to access the education award, tips and tricks on when they're planning on using it. Really important people to talk to when they're about to use the education award. Other benefits, professional development at the site and program level. HHCK will pay the premium of health insurance if they need health insurance during their term of service. AmeriCorps offers childcare assistance. Part of their enrollment packet will be an intent to apply for childcare assistance. So once they're enrolled into our program, we will send the website that they would need to go to start that process. We do hold a workers' compensation policy for our members. Of course, we don't want anything to ever happen while we don't ever want anything to happen to our members, but we know that accidents happen, things happen, and we'll talk about that process in a little bit. Members can put their loans, or they can request to put their loans in forbearance. So if that is approved by the loan holder, then they wouldn't have to have that payment or pay on that loan while they're in service. So that would be, one less bill that they would have to worry about. And the members assistance program, we will be offering that again this year to members. It is not only available for the person serving in our program, but anyone in their household. The member assistance program, we really hope members utilize it. We don't know anything, like it is completely confidential, so it's not like we get a list of member names on who utilized the resource. We can request to see a number of members that have utilized the resource, but we don't know, anything other than that. We don't know names or anything, but it is a way for members to get connected to a mental health professional. It can also, again, they can use it for members of their household to get connected to a mental health provider or professional. That would be virtually. So it's not like they would have to go to an actual therapist office or anything like that. We go into full detail about the member assistance program and how to enroll in it when if they want to utilize this resource. Sorry, I lost my train of thought. Okay, next, an important document for your member's term of service is their member position description. So on top of their member enrollment packet that they complete, before they start service, they will also complete this member position description. It's also important to talk about this with you because this is also a document that you sign. So part of that site application, you used our list of allowable activities to pull to create this position description for the person. So it's going to define their service here. 90% of those hours are going to be with you on site. And then we leave 10% for program activities so that there's time for those trainings and events where members are with us. That also includes time for them to complete the reporting component of our program and communicating with Valerie and I. That position description also includes the minimum eligibility requirements. I don't know why that's separately, but yeah, it includes all of the minimum eligibility requirements to serve in our program. So, at this point, if we are completing the member position description, they've already met those eligibility requirements. So the age requirement, the school requirement, the background requirement, the citizenship. So those are all listed on the position description as well. And then any essential functions that you indicated in your site application. So if you, oh, does somebody have a question? Sorry.
I don't think so, no. You can
Okay,
go ahead.
sorry. I thought I heard something. Um, but those essential functions that you indicated in your site application. So if you require someone to be fully vaccinated from COVID, that would be listed on the position description. Previous volunteer work, things like that. Having an understanding of Microsoft Word, things like that. But this is the last document that will be signed before the person starts their position. We typically send these through Signwell to you and the member. Timesheets are another important role of being a site supervisor for an AmeriCorps member. We use America Learns for our timesheets. We have to use an approved vendor, an AmeriCorps approved vendor. So that's why we use America Learns. Um, there is a phone application for members so that they can submit their timesheets from anywhere. Your members will submit timesheets to you weekly. So you should get like an email from America Learns every time your member submits a timesheet for you to review. We do ask that supervisors review and approve timesheets at least twice a month. You may be someone who likes to go in and approve them weekly, after you get that notification, or you just have it on your calendar to check by the end of the week, whatever system you have in place that works for you. We just ask that you do review them at least twice a month, because we also review your members' timesheets. So we like to go in. It's a good way for us to stay up to date on where they are at with their hour requirement. We also do this because part of compliance with Serve Kentucky is we have to report on member hours. So occasionally you may have gotten an email from me like, hey, I need you to review and submit timesheets. I've got a grant report due. That's why. So yeah, I mean, and I will say this, in your America Learn, yes, in your America Learns account, you also have the ability to keep up with where your member is at on their hours. Next thing is performance measures. So I know at the beginning we talked about our goals for the program year. So as a whole, we are hoping that we serve 2,000 individuals across the state, and 800 of those are housed. 800 of the 2,000 are housed. So your members will be completing performance measure reports. They may call them service reports. They may just call them the AmeriCorps paperwork that Holly and Valerie need, and that's fine as long as they know what it is. But there is some information that we like to share with you because you will be reviewing these reports to make sure that what your member is reporting to us is accurate. So on the form, it will have the number of individuals. We want that to be meaningful engagement. So if it is just a person that's called and is asking about what types of services, HGA provides, that wouldn't be a meaningful engagement. This person has maybe some scheduled calls. They've done an intake with the person. Whatever the case may be, at least whatever meaningful engagement means to you and your organization. But your members should not be reporting on someone that they just talked to one time and never hear back from. We do ask for the household size and the demographics. And then the step 2 of the performance measures would be the number of individuals housed. So on that form, it will ask for you to check mark the proof of housing or the construction that was completed. We expect that sites keep that documentation on file in that household's file. We don't ever need to see that proof of housing unless AmeriCorps or Serve Kentucky has audited us and they asked for that specifically. Same with volunteers. We do track volunteers. So if your member's position has that component, they would report the number of volunteers if it's episodic or reoccurring and the number of hours that volunteers providing. We do not collect any identifying or confidential information. So your member at the top of the page, they're going to create an identifier or use the identifier that your site uses. So if you already generate a code name or a case number, your member can use that same one so they know exactly who they are reporting on. If your organization doesn't have that type of system, they can create their own. It could be that person's initials, their initials, and a number. We're never going to know who that is. We don't collect that information. And I guess I should add, the reason why we collect this, it's to show the types of services that your members providing for this specific individual or this household. Reporting on performance measures. So it is your members' responsibility to send new forms to us by the 15th of the month for the previous month, meaning November 15th, we would ask for any new households served in October to be sent to us. If we have reached out for kind of like a check-in, Valerie will check in with members, be like, hey, I haven't you haven't sent any over since August and now it's December. Are you still working with the same group of people? Have you added any people? That type of thing. Our responsibility, we at the program level, we are going to train members at our orientation in August. We're going to do it ongoing throughout the year. If we need to set up time to work with the person individually or with you and your member, we are more than happy to do that as well. This isn't meant to take up a lot of time, but it is very important to our program and showing AmeriCorps why our program is needed. And then we're going to report this and include this data in our AmeriCorps grant application that we have to submit yearly. Also, our responsibility when it comes to the end of the year, we're going to share out and celebrate how many people our members across the state have served. We're not a super large program, but it's amazing to see how many people they work with over just a 1-year term of service. And we don't want them to forget that. Site responsibility, just making sure that your member has time to work on these reports regularly, whether that's 2 times a month, every week, once a month, whatever system works for your member. Help them figure that out. Incorporate it into whatever other type of paperwork that they're already completing, so that it's it starts to become part of their natural workflow. If for some reason your member were to exit service early, we will probably follow up with you just to see if maybe there are some missing service forms that they haven't submitted to our office yet. So the 15th of the month will make sense in just a second when we start talking about some of the trainings that happen throughout the year. Um, there's also a member development component of our program that's in our grant that we've written into our grant. It really is to help AmeriCorps members strengthen into active citizens and just encourage civic engagement, not only during their time at your organization and in our program, but hopefully after as well, because sometimes some of these issues that they're faced with during their term of service could be new. It could be a new experience for them, and can completely change their mindset on how people are served or how people are treated, or whatever the case may be. And we hope that they continue to be an advocate, or, be someone that someone can lean on that may need it. There are 4 components of our member development. The first one being the MLK Day of Service. That's in January. So MLK Day is not an observed holiday of our program. It's not an observed holiday for AmeriCorps programs nationally. All AmeriCorps members should be doing some type of service on MLK Day. Over the past couple of years, Homes for All, we have coordinated like a group project. So even if the project is happening, say in Lexington, and your member serves in London, we're still going to offer this opportunity for your member to come and be with us. We typically put together care packages. So we're securing donations for supplies to go into those care packages that can be used for outreach services that can be used during that point in time count, or kept in your office, or in the member's car. If they were to see someone experiencing homelessness, it would at least have some of those supplies to help them for a little while. But again, we pay for mileage. It is just a 1-day event, so it's not like we would provide lodging or anything. Well, maybe especially if the person's coming from like Paducah, we would set that up. But again, expenses are paid by us. We want this project to work. We've had other programs partner with us too in the past that have had members come, and it's been a good time. We provide lunch and everything like that as well. So the another one is their spring service project. That is a construction component. I will add that we also offer a non-construction activity during our spring service project, because we want all of our members to be with us. So there is something for everyone to do whenever we are at our annual spring service project. We have a homeless services activity component. So participating in their counties or their regions point in time count that Kentucky Housing Corporation requires organizations to complete if they are receiving HUD funding, or if they're at a site or that's located in a county that does not do the point in time count. We would ask for like a different type of activity to be completed, and we can work with your member on brainstorming something for them to do. That's typically in January as well. And then there's a public speaking component. Your members may already do this. They may go to outreach events and talk and represent your organization. And that's great. They probably don't even know they're doing it, but they definitely can use that and include it as their public speaking activity. We've had members go to Rotary clubs, high schools, talk to high school students about AmeriCorps, our program, the organization that they're serving at, what housing and homelessness kind of looks like statewide. Um, they could talk to a college class, maybe a board of another organization that you work closely with, things like that. It's not meant to be like long. It's like the the number that we tell members is like 15 minutes. Does not have to be like this huge presentation. It's just a way for members to also get some um, experience talking in front of a group of people and being confident in what they're speaking about. There are some trainings and events that we already have dates for the upcoming year. Um, please expect your members to be on a virtual monthly member training with Valerie and I on the 15th of every month, unless there's something happening or whatever the case may be. Like this month we had our training on the 17th because I think the 15th fell on a weekend. Anyways, it's on or around the 15th of every month. It is virtual. We ensure that the link is on our Google Calendar that we share with our members. Valerie sends it out in the monthly member email. We send out a reminder, but it's a way for us to talk to our members since we are statewide. It's another way for they have the opportunity to talk to one another as well. We have we usually take about 15 minutes to talk about any program updates, any special topics, or anything that's kind of going on that they should either be starting to think about or plan for within the next couple of months. We also like to provide some type of professional development during this hour to hour and a half. So some of the trainings that we have offered virtually on this call, we've had representatives from Kentucky Fair Housing to come and talk about fair housing issues and laws to our members. We've talked about healthy boundaries, implicit bias, leadership skills. So these are just some of the things that we typically utilize this time for. And it's just another way to kind of sprinkle in some professional development monthly for your members. If there is a topic that you love to train on or would love to have a group to present to, feel free to reach out to me and Valerie. We love providing different topics. We love finding presenters that feel as passionate as we do about things. And again, it's just another way for members to not only just hear from me and Valerie, but also learn more about either the organization that you work for or other services throughout the state that they can learn about. Or just, other professional development, like self-care, things like that. Again, that does typically happen on or around the 15th of each month, and it is virtually. After the program year starts and they've completed their orientation with us in August, Serve Kentucky will be having the Kentucky AmeriCorps Accelerator Training, formerly known as AmeriCorps Launch. Those dates are October 28th through the 30th. It will be held in Lexington, Kentucky. So this is a really awesome event training that Serve Kentucky provides for all AmeriCorps members across the state. So your members will not only be with Homes for All, but they will be with members from Frisk Corps, IL Corps, all the different public health corps, all the different AmeriCorps programs across the state. So it is a really good, not only professional development for your members, but a networking and just building new relationships with people who may be doing something similarly to what they're doing across the state. Or they're learning about what other programs are doing across the state. But yeah, we will be in Lexington. So by September, we're going to be sending out, another registration for your members to complete so we can start that logistic process and making sure everybody has what they need, a hotel room. We know um, dietary restrictions, the number of people that are going to be joining us, and everything like that. All expenses, again, are paid by the program. We'll have site visits as scheduled in the fall for sure. If we need to do a spring visit, we will. During site visits, we ask that both the supervisor and member be present. We like to schedule these in person now. Now that, I mean, COVID will always be here, but since we've kind of understand on, how to keep each other safe, we do like to have those in person. We don't get to be with you all every day, so it really is a time for us to kind of get up to date on maybe some of the things that we haven't gotten to talk about, and just see how things are going this far into the person's program year. If they need to be scheduled virtually just because of scheduling conflicts, that's no problem at all. Again, we just like to come visit you all and see you. Um, it makes things fun. Hopefully, it makes a day fun for you all too. AmeriCorps Week, it will be March of 25, which is crazy that we're already talking about 2025. Usually during that week, we spotlight our members where they're where they're serving, things that they like, what they're doing at your organization. If you would like to also create a spotlight for your members, we would love to see that. We'll share it as well. And then our end of year training will be held sometime in July of next year. So again, there aren't that many times that we ask your members to be offsite, but there will be some times where we're either spotlighting your members or they may be with us on a virtual call. Okay, next we'll talk about supervision and support. So when you're supervising your member, as we talked about earlier with like the site orientation, provide that comprehensive training and orientation for them. Obviously, that should start when the person starts, but also just any training that they may need throughout the year. So, as needed, things happen, things change. Maybe the position shifted a little bit and you've added another component to their position description. You want to make sure that they are adequately trained and can do what they're supposed to be doing. Again, review all important policies and procedures with your member before they start serving people directly. I think that this clears up a lot of gray areas that a member may have if they don't have these policies or these procedures, or they're not made aware of these policies or procedures until they're sitting right there with someone, and then it can be, I don't know, it can kind of mix up their boundaries. They're not really for sure what they're supposed to be doing. So just review all of that ahead of time, and shadow them when you all get to that point of them working more independently with people who come into your organization. We do ask that you dedicate some time to meet with your member. I think it's important during the early parts of their term of service that you set aside some time, maybe weekly. It doesn't have to be, super formal, but just check in with them, see where their headspace is. There's a lot of information that with any new position, when you're coming into a new position, it's kind of being thrown at you. There's maybe a lot of new acronyms or just new terms that they're not aware of and they're still learning. So just check in with them. Maybe that can lessen as the year goes on, but you should still at least be meeting with your members to check in and see how they're doing. Serving as their supervisor, their coach, and a mentor. Timesheet approval in a timely manner, please. Um, there will be 2 evaluations that you will complete per year. If there's any changes in supervision, please let me or Valerie know as soon as you guys know that those changes are happening, because paperwork will need to be updated. Timesheet accounts will need to be changed, things like just some of that admin stuff that is part of Valerie and I's positions. And again, just talk to us. I'm a talker, so if anything's going on, feel free to give me a call. Back to those member evaluations, they are completed 2 times during the year, the mid-service evaluation and the end of year or end of service evaluation. They are required by AmeriCorps. So I hate if I'm having to reach out a few times to get those back from you all, but it is very important to have these evaluations in the member's file so that when we get audited, AmeriCorps knows they have the evaluations, they've been completed by you, they've been completed by the program, because it is tied to the education award. So it is really important to have those. It is required. So I hate having to reach back out. It is something that is required by AmeriCorps for us to have. Also, it's a good time to sit down with your member and talk about how things are going up until that point. Providing positive feedback and constructive feedback. Again, I think all of us want this person we want these people to succeed. We know that they have goals as well. And this is a really good time to sit down and have those conversations with your members, and just kind of let them know how things are going. Obviously, we don't want these 2 times to only be the times that you're having these conversations with them. But I think it's also a good experience for members. Maybe they've never had an evaluation completed. So when they do move on to whatever's next for them, it's likely that evaluations are still going to be part of that position. And they're going to kind of have some experience with how to have and handle conversations. There are just some formal and informal ways that you can develop develop and support members. Again, providing those formal trainings. We have some throughout the year as well with your members, but if you are able to offer any other additional trainings, like sending your member to the Kentucky Housing Corporation training that's coming up in August, or neighbor work trainings, or other online trainings. Gosh, there's so many that I could probably throw out there. But any professional development opportunities, we ask that, if you are able to provide those for your members, that you do. If your organization has regular staff meetings or has like an annual staff retreat, those are so fun for your members to be included in. and know that they are part of the team. Informal ways, having those weekly check-ins, having an open door policy, but understanding that there has to be some type of structure with that. So letting your member know what your boundaries are, how to schedule check-ins with them if it's not a reoccurring check-in that you do with them, or how to ask questions. Letting them know what type of communication style you have, so that they don't feel like, we have members tell us all the time, I just don't want to bother them, and we know that's not the case. I just think that they don't understand what their supervisor's communication style is or how to ask these questions. So really establishing that up front when you are doing your orientation with members. So we'll talk about some other member support that you can provide to your member while they're with you. So we know the living allowance amount that we provide is 20,100. Sites are able to, if sites have the ability to increase a member's living allowance, they can do so. There are maximums for both types of positions. So the maximum amount for a 1,700-hour member is 37,400. The maximum for a 900-hour member is 18,700. So sometimes we have sites that are able to increase it, for example, by 5,000. I will include in my wrap-up email the living allowance increase form. A site would complete that form with all of the numbers that would be required. The living allowance increase and the site contribution are due before the increase can actually be put into effect in the member's living allowance deposit. So that's something good to know. But again, if you have the ability, it may have your maybe your position will have a little bit more appeal to the public. Again, it's not something that we require. Sometimes our sites do that, or if they have a member that returns for a second year, they may bump up that living allowance. So those are just some things to think about in regards to the living allowance. But again, there are maximum amounts to that. So if you have specific questions about increasing the living allowance, I'm here to answer that. We can get that all squared away. Housing. So if your organization wants to pay all or a portion of a person's rent or mortgage, you can do that. We just ask that you make that payment directly to the landlord, the property manager, the mortgage holder. So that's another way that you could provide an extra benefit to your member. Food and gifts. So if you want to provide like a monthly gift card to Food City or Kroger or Walmart, you can do that. If your organization has clothing or promotional items, members love gear. So, they would love to have a t-shirt or a hat or whatever it might be with your organization's logo on it as well. And then just providing ongoing training. Something that we do like to just make sites aware of, if you're going to do, if you're going to provide support to one member, we just ask that you be fair and equitable with all the AmeriCorps members that may be serving at your site. Next, we're almost done. Talk about some key policies and procedures. If you are not new to the AmeriCorps world, you've probably heard prohibited activities a lot. You probably have. Actually, you should have a prohibited activities poster at your organization. So I'll give you just a minute or two to read through these because there's more information that I'll be sharing in just a second. As you can see, a lot of these prohibited activities um, are based on, religious or political activities. And what we mean by this is individuals have the right to exercise these things as a private citizen. So Sally she can do that on her own time, but she can't do that while she's acting as a Homes for All member serving at HHCK. She can't log time on her timesheet for going out and conducting a voter registration. She can do it on her own time. Like I said, like I can do these things on my own time, but I can't be Holly, Homes for All program director, representing HHCK, Homes for All, and AmeriCorps. We can't be doing that. But again, on their own time, on the weekend when they're not serving, um, they're not logging time on their timesheets. They're not wearing the AmeriCorps logo. They're not wearing the Homes for All HHCK logo. We go into detail about this with our members as well, but we want our sites to also understand that members cannot be doing this while serving as an AmeriCorps member. Or having volunteers do those services either. But that's all I'm going to say about like prohibited activities, because Serve Kentucky has written into their policy. They are now requiring all site supervisors to complete an prohibited activities training before their members start service. This even includes returning members. So before August 1st, site supervisors have to complete this online prohibited activities training. It is through a company called On3 Learns. They provide really great AmeriCorps trainings. The women who operate this website and these trainings, they were once program directors in other states, so they really understand AmeriCorps programs and what AmeriCorps requires. So it's a really good training, but it is now required. So last year we kind of recommended site supervisors to complete it. If you did, I'm working on getting that list from Serve Kentucky. So if you did complete it last year, I'm not asking you to complete it again, because we do have your completion certificate on file, or I will get it from Serve Kentucky. If you did not complete it though, we will have to have you do it before your member starts, or before the program year starts on August 1st. So it is requirement. They talked about it to us in April. I wanted to use site supervisor training as a time to talk about it, because it is also now written into our site service side agreement, because it has to be part of our program policies as well. It shouldn't take more than 45 minutes. I will send out the instructions when I send out the wrap-up email. I am working on getting that list. If you completed the site supervisor training last year, sorry, if you completed the prohibited activities training last year, I'll follow up with Serve Kentucky and get that list. But if you're not sure, you can reach out to me and I'll figure that out. If you know that you didn't, I would just go ahead and complete it. Or you can complete it again and be really up to date on prohibited activities. Another training that will be required by Serve Kentucky is AmeriCorps 101. It's also another really good training, especially if you're new to AmeriCorps lingo, everything about AmeriCorps. It really explains it. It's not just me talking about like Homes for All and our program requirements. It's talking about AmeriCorps nationally, which can help you in regards to like recruitment or just talking to individuals who may be interested in AmeriCorps in general. But it is required as well. And I will send out those instructions. Well, it'll be the same instructions. So it'll have everything listed, but those are two trainings that must be completed before your member starts August 1st. And I will say that's not a training if you are like a returning site for the following program year, you're not going to have to do this yearly. We're just going to keep your certificate on file. So it is a requirement now moving forward. Next, we'll shift over to COVID-19 and just teleservice. Your members should be on site the majority of their service. The federal agency they have updated their teleservice policy, so no more than 10 hours can be allocated to teleservice. So I've broken it down depending on what type of position your member is serving in. That this is another reason why Valerie and I review timesheets, because we do have many subcategories that your members have to choose from when they're filling out their timesheets. So yeah, we're going to review it and make sure if there is a reason, or if for some reason there's teleservice on their timesheet, where we are aware of it. Transportation and mileage. So let your members know upfront what that transportation expectation will be for their term of service. We provide mileage and meal reimbursement when they are coming to a training that we are hosting or providing for them. We hope that your organization can provide mileage reimbursement for any client transport or home visits that they take in their personal vehicles. So making sure if that is the case, if there is some travel that's tied to their position, they understand your organization's mileage reimbursement policy. They know how to fill out a mileage form, when those should be due, everything like that that's tied into mileage and making sure they get that reimbursement. Also, just keeping a copy of their valid driver's license and auto insurance if that is tied to their position. AmeriCorps branding. We hope that if you are providing business cards for your member, that the AmeriCorps logo is somewhere on that business card. Email signature, they can include that they are a Homes for All AmeriCorps member. They can include your organization's logo and the AmeriCorps logo. We also love to have our partner organizations have the AmeriCorps logo on their websites. So when people are visiting your websites, they know, oh, they're a partner of AmeriCorps. So again, if you need the AmeriCorps logo, we've got different versions and we're happy to send all of them to you. Your organization, again, must identify as an AmeriCorps site. I think most of our sites at this point, unless you're a new site, have a sign that says AmeriCorps member serving here or AmeriCorps serving here. We will get those sent to new sites as the year starts. We'll mail those to you. We ask that you hang that up in an area where um, it's visual for anyone that kind of walks into your organization. So just in a common area. We do ask that your members, not just us, but AmeriCorps, that members are wearing something with the logo on it at all times. Maybe they have a printout of the logo on a bulletin board behind their desk. They've put it in a frame, or they have their AmeriCorps lanyard that we provide them with their name tag attached to it. If you create a name tag, we ask that you put the AmeriCorps logo on it. Yeah, again, like their business cards, we will provide a t-shirt, ink pens, lapel pins, hand sanitizer, a bag, a cup, so we do have items that will have the AmeriCorps logo on it, the lanyard that I mentioned. So just make sure your member is identifying as an AmeriCorps member. And also just something that we should talk with members about is how to introduce themselves as an AmeriCorps member at our orientation. And so maybe practicing that with them during their orientation or during their first few weeks as they are introducing themselves to people at your organization or volunteers or other community partners. Safety, we take safety seriously here. So obviously we don't want things to happen to anyone, but I don't think it's wrong to anticipate or plan if safety issues or something comes up. We do have a workers' compensation coverage through HHCK. So if something were to happen, like an injury on site, you would notify me immediately, and then I'm going to send the claim form to you and the member, and it needs to be completed within 24 hours, and then sent back to me, and I'm going to submit it to Kimmy. And then Kimmy's going to follow up and go through that whole process. Also, just checking in about your members' mental health. Burnout is real. I think we all know that. I think that we all probably handle burnout differently, and that's okay. But I think that it's normal. But check in with your member. We don't know what anyone is going through. Obviously, people are only going to share what they feel comfortable sharing with us, but I think it's important to let your members know that you are a safe person for them to come to and talk about things in case there's something that's just kind of going on that they haven't shared or felt comfortable enough to share with others. It's more likely that they're going to share something with you than they are with me or Valerie. And again, that's why we've started offering that member assistance program for members in case they need extra access to a mental health professional to talk to. So just kind of check in every now and then. We are all working with a very vulnerable population. And again, this may be the first time someone is working in this type of field and service. And so it's going to take a toll on them. Standards of conduct, everyone's favorite thing. You will receive your site supervisor manual tomorrow as well. It's going to list, it's going to be a PDF, so it's going to be a document that you can either print or save on your computer. But it is going to list our member standards of conduct. There are 3 different levels. So one being like those little things that kind of happen, like you're starting to notice that your members are coming in late, or they're not telling you that they're going to be late, things like that, like some attendance issues. There's going to be a whole example of all of them. Level 2 would be a little bit worse, and then 3 would be like having inappropriate relationships with a client. When those issues, if those issues happen, because they're not always going to, because we're going to have a great year, but if they were to happen, you would use our Homes for All corrective action plan. You need to notify Valerie and I as soon as you start observing issues that would fall under our standards of conduct. We need to know that up front. It is so much better for us to have these conversations early rather than later. Because if we're waiting until later, it's very likely that you or someone else at your site, they're going to be fed up and ready for the member to go. And we don't want that to happen. We want to work through these issues if we are able to. The corrective action plan will also be part of your site supervisor manual. If there are some performance-based issues, we have a member action plan to kind of redirect the member. I don't want to say it's nothing like super serious, but it's not a breach of or like a violation of a standards of conduct. But it could be important, you've noticed something that's performance-based and you're like, hey, I've noticed this. Maybe they have no idea. And they're like, oh yeah. And you kind of give them a time frame on how to fix that issue. Again, we would like to have those conversations as they're happening. Like, we want to play by play. We want to be right there with you when stuff like this is going on. In regards to removal from service, that can only happen at the program level. So that's why I have said many times, communication is key and documentation is key. So nothing can happen unless we know what's going on. We've worked through all of the possible scenarios. I shouldn't say scenarios, all the possible. I've lost my train of thought. I don't even know what I'm trying to say because I'm almost done. But anyways, documentation is key. We need to be having these conversations as soon as you start observing these issues, and handling them as soon as possible. All of these documents, again, will be part of the site manual that you'll get. So wrapping up, next steps. So we will send out your service site agreement through Signwell. So it's like DocuSign in July. If you are a new supervisor, we will send you a welcome email for your America Learns account. That is the account that you will review and approve your member timesheets. If you are a returning site supervisor, and you have a new member for the upcoming year, we will attach the new member to the account that you already have. If for some reason your password needs to be reset, just let us know and we can reset that for you. Remembering that there are 2 required trainings before your member starts. So the AmeriCorps 101 and prohibited activities. And that's all through On3 Learns. I will send out the instructions on like how to create your account and everything like that, so you can get those done, and certificates can be sent over to us to keep on file for when we are monitored. The member site and expectation agreement, we do ask that you return that back to our office within the first 2 weeks. Again, it really is just a good first piece of documentation to have for every member serving in our program. It also lets us know what type of schedule they are serving or expected to serve for the year, and your site expectations for that person. Site contribution, those amounts are the same as last year. Those invoices will be sent out shortly after your member starts. Um, if you need a quarterly payment plan that is available, you will work that out through Wendy Tucker, our Director of Finance, which her information will be next in just a minute. Upcoming events to remember, which we will also remind you as the program year starts. Again, that first day that members can start serving hours, sorry, is August 1st. We have to have that person recommended to us by July 15th. Our member orientation is August 29th through the 30th. Kentucky AmeriCorps Accelerator in Lexington with all AmeriCorps programs and members will be October 28th through the 30th. And then shortly, or even during October and November, maybe December as well, site visits will be scheduled with you and your member. Another thing I just wanted to mention is I'm going to be on leave, parental leave, early October through the holidays. I'm likely to return back shortly after the holidays, early January. Valerie will still be available to support you and your members during my time off. And our executive director, or Whitney Reynolds, or both, will be here to support Valerie in our program during my time off as well. Here's just a list of contacts from HHCK staff that the majority of your communication will be with me or Valerie. But in regards to like site contribution and HHCK membership, you can talk to me and Valerie about those things, but you also have the ability to talk to Wendy Tucker or Whitney. Those site contribution invoices will come from Wendy. But if you have any questions, like if you're doing a living allowance increase or anything like that, feel free to reach out to Valerie and I as well. That's all. I'm done talking. I haven't looked at, sorry, my computer's.
I think we got most of the questions cleared up, but I know it is 3:30.
Yes.
But I just had quick closing thoughts like about general communication. But it can be hard with y'all being everywhere and us not being with you day to day to keep that communication aligned. So besides Jenny and Kelly and Danny, we talk to you as well sometimes too. But basically, if your member says something that we told them, some kind of information they got from the AmeriCorps side of things that doesn't align with what you understand about that policy or procedure, please just reach out ASAP so we can try to clarify that just so everybody's on the same page. In that same note, I do send like a monthly email to members, and that just includes various opportunities for them to take advantage of upcoming events or webinars, things like that, but also member recognition. So if you'd like to be added on that email list, let me know, but also always let us know about AmeriCorps member wins. We love sharing that and showing our pride in our members and what they're doing all across the state. So yeah, it just helps with our communications and also holding members accountable because at orientation, we tell members that their service year is what they make of it. And so we really want them to take advantage of those opportunities to really get a better understanding and perspective of housing in the state. But thank you all for partnering with us. I do just want to say that we're a really good program. We have a lot of returning members. I'm always astounded at how supportive our sites are at like supporting the members' goals to start careers in the housing sector and to stick around, which I think is really cool. So thank you all for that and for listening to us talk about the nitty gritty.
Yes, thank you. I don't really have anything else to add. Valerie did a great job closing. So just be on the lookout for our wrap-up email tomorrow with everything that you will need as we start this onboarding um, process. We are here to support you and your members, and again, answer any questions that you might have. So thank you so much, and we'll talk to you soon.